This will be the assembly. First part, set that aside, set these two aside. We don't need those right away. First part, this is your motor plate with a square. This is where your motor shaft is going to sit. This is the motor plate. So this side, as you can see, it's got the cutout or the indents from where I bolt the motor in. So we're going to take our two shortest bolts. Pull nut, washer, spacer. Comes through the back. Comes through like this. Spacer, motor plate, washer, nut. Just loosely for right now, because we're going to put a few more on. Same thing. So bolt, not all the way through, because we're going to have to swing the plate in place. Swing the plate, bolt through, nut, or washer, nut. That one's up. Now we're going to take the larger bolt with two spacers on it. Well, there's three of them with two spacers. When you cut these, you'll know which one's what, because this one will be the same space as these two. So, the motor plate sits like it's supposed to. So we're going to put this in, bolt in, slide our spacer in. This is the tricky parts with these. One's in. Spacer. Now we're going to take our other plate. It's going to go on top. My bolts are about ½ inch too long. I'll cut them down when I'm done. And you should use Nylock nuts here instead of these, but Nylock nuts, trying to take a video, doesn't work very well. So that's done. So now you have your motor plate mounted and the bottom bolted. So now we have to put these two pieces in. Now, depending on which side you want your motor to be on, or let's say here's your foot shell. One side, because it's going to sit where the motor plate sits in here. And so when you sit this in here, one's off than the other side. So if you want the motor plate side where your chain's going to be, or if you want the wheel on the inside, technically I think you're supposed to have it outside because you'll have better stability, but it's all personal preference. I mean, you can build it whatever way you want. I'm going to stick them on this. I'm going to stick the plates on this side, so there'll be a larger gap over here. So we're going to stick. This goes in first. Take our other two bolts, washer, spacers, stick our bolt through. Now this spacer is going to be the distance that it is for here. Oh, sorry, here. So this distance, that's how wide the spacer has to be when you cut them. So these are going to be all custom. And as you can see, it's just a little bit wider. So when the motor plate goes in, it will surround the outside of that channel. Because if you have wood, if you have fiberglass, if you have steel, whatever you choose, or what you have, that's what it's going to be going around. So it's not going to hit anything because you're going to custom cut them to whatever size. So we're going to put that piece on. Take our other side. Put that on. Put our spacer on. Push that through, all of that through that hole. Washer and a nut. That down. And we have the other side to do, same thing, but since I already explained why you have a wider spacer than the other, so we'll put our bolt through. Too far. Put that in. Pull up other side. thread it through. Put our spacer in. Which these cincher ones they're really flexible, so you can just pull them out of the way. And tighten it down. Now this has not been cut for the hole, so it's going to be blank, so you can drill it when it's on or inside the foot shell. Now these two other holes, this is for your Omni wheel, and this is for your Coulson wheel, which will need the gearing. Now the fun part of this is why we made this cutout here, is I can fit the motor inside of here and bolt it with it assembled and put the chain on. Now I don't know if it will work for the amp flow, because that what I know Mark was choosing for the gear is rather large, so I don't know if you can get your chain, and he's using a 35 chain, I'm using a 25 chain. There's also another option, is a lot of times when you buy those scooters and you salvage all the parts out of them, you get this wheel, this chain, and this is for a 25 chain. This is a 47, 48 tooth. It will fit in here, but you cannot put an Omni on here because it will hit the walls of your foot shell. It is so close, and as it sits in here, it's almost going to hit your motor. So I mean, if you want to do a budget, you know, I just want to use the parts from a scooter to make this thing work, some hardware, and you know, I can have a foot drive. This will work, but you have to lock your ankles in place, and then once they're locked in place, you will not have a front caster whatsoever. You'll just have the one wheel. So I mean, if you put you can't put a really front caster in here, I mean, because there's nothing to attach it to, unless you can figure a way to run a bolt through there. If you put this wheel on here, because it's 5.5 inches, so we went over it for the last couple days, how do we do this, where we can use a 5.5 inch, it just doesn't work. The size requirements and everything we have, it just doesn't work. So that might be another option. If you want to use these parts, you might have to find a different system, or you can just deal with the one wheel, which I've done before. It does work. It just, it's more temperamental. I had a mock-up of an Omni wheel around here, but I don't know where it is. So, I mean, technically, here's another scooter wheel. You could throw both of these suckers in here and totally hit your foot shells, the walls of your foot shells. But it will look like a monster truck, by the way, too. And I'll post pictures of what we've been working on, so you'll see it has almost 2 inches from bottom of the foot shell to the bottom of the floor, which it just doesn't sit. So suggestion is Coulson wheels, and then you won't have any problems. On this side, because I'm not using the amp flow motor, I scribed about a 1/4 inch in all the way around and cut a notch out for the cable, just so it holds, because I'm using cincher on this, just so it holds onto that motor tighter, so it won't flex as much. I mean, this is pretty rigid. I mean, it still flexes a little bit, but I mean, this one costs less than $5 to make. And I'll show you, I can install this motor. You know, motor's in. Our cords where we need to go. And then we just have to index the motor until we find the holes. Which they're around here somewhere. They're there. And we'll put our last 3 bolts in. Now you get to watch me fight with this. So you might need it depends if they're, I suggest using pan head screws instead of the cap head screws, so you have better clearance, so if your chain might not hit it because of everything. There you go. It's not too bad. I'll just put 2 bolts in for right now, just to show you what we're looking at. There we go. So there you go. There's foot shell. If you want to, I mean, yeah, these bolts will go through here. This one goes through there, and that's where your Omni and your Coulson wheel will go. So it's pretty direct forward. You can reroute your cables. You want it under these two because that is where this part of your foot shell is going to sit. So as you can, here, I'll show you. Oh, wrong one. I have a cut out another one. Give me a second. Oh. So, cut out here on the foot shell because the motor will stick. This one I just don't have the channels on the side, so I was using another one for fitting. And it will sit just like that. And it fits. You can slide it. I mean, I think that's about centered right there. And it's where this channel is going to be pretty much sitting right on top of those spacers. So, and that's the way we designed it. So there's not too much room of will this work or will that not work. So, but you can see the motor system works. Or the plates all fit inside the foot shells, even with the longer bolts. I tend to go for try to find a cheaper option. But for you styrene guys, if you want to use a scooter motor, it is possible. Just take your 6mm or your 5mm styrene and cut this out. You don't even need to do it on a mill. This was hand cut with a razor knife. I mean, it took me, I think, an hour after I made the templates. Just stack everything on top of each other and then drill your holes together. All your holes together. So, I mean, put all the plates together and then drill your holes. Even if you have to re-drill on top of other holes or whatever, just so they all line up so you don't have any problems. I mean, and that's why you can get around the use of a CNC. I think they were $120 a Big Blue saw now, and it will cut both sides, and that would be, I think it was 14 gauge steel. But for this, it makes it reusable. I mean, the most expensive 2 parts are going to be your Vex wheels and your Coulson wheel and the gearing for it. And this will be able to do 4-wheel drive because on this shaft you can put 2 bearings, and so your chain will come off your gear here, come around this wheel, go up around the bearing, and then come back down and around your Vex wheel, and you have 4-wheel drive with Vex Omni wheels, the 4-inch Omni wheels, and it will be thresholds should be a whole lot better to go over. I've been using a caster actually over here, this, and it's terrible. I mean, it works, but it's terrible. So anyway, this is the flat pack foot drives that we've been developing. I will make examples in wood and steel as well once I get those cut. The steel ones are getting done by a plasma cutter, so we'll see how that goes. All right.